Yeah, the TryPod app, shit, years in the making. They're raising the stakes straight, bringing home the bacon. It's free to take, mate, so why you waiting? Grab a slice of the cake, check your notifications, it's brazen. The pod's making it rain.
To the TryPod. Sorry, that's such a catchy tune. I just couldn't help but listen to it as it's still got another minute to go. But you can find the whole clip on YouTube, the TryPod app wrap. I am here for a bonus show, NRL Grand Final week. It's your mate Winny with an extravaganza preview show. We did the traditional breakdown of the matchup with Clarkey on Tuesday. I gave a best bet. Clarkey gave Clarkey's collect. We did Clive Churchill, but we have so much more to share with you guys. I had to make this bonus show. Got a custom market. I'm actually going to give you guys a couple of bonus tips, both at double-digit odds. We've got try scorer tips with Nakul. We've got Ponis's pick and a best bet. We've got, well, the man who went 20-3 this season. Let's not forget, Penrith and the Storm had good seasons, right? Melbourne went 19-5 in the regular season. Penrith 17-7. Benny, I had to get you back on to get your view on the game. So welcome back. 20-3 you are so far, and your tips shared.
Thanks, Winny. Thanks for having me back.
Can't wait to get into it, mate. Let us know in the comments too. Appreciate everyone that's tuning in. I want to know who you're picking for a winner. What's your margin? What's your Clive Churchill? And as I asked Benny some of these questions, some of the topics on the game, let us know how you see it as well. Why don't we just get straight into it? Benny, we chatted. Well, I had you on in the prelim, but also prior to the finals. I'd just like to know what has stuck out to you the most, surprised you, or maybe anything you've picked up just from watching these teams, Penrith and Melbourne, over the last month.
Well, yeah, it goes without saying. I think Jerome Hughes, we all knew he was good, but I just feel like this final series and towards the end of the season, he's just had a crazy sort of run of form. And just that Melbourne spine, I feel like they just, whatever they're touching at the moment, it's gold. It's a bit of a story at the moment, I think.
And what about the previous matchups between Melbourne and Penrith? You know, what do you read a lot into those games? And is there anything you think about when you call back those games in terms of what you might have learned there?
Yeah, well, I guess what's the first one? Was it 6-0 Melbourne?
Was it 8-0, I think, in round one?
8-0? Yeah, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, I guess that's round one. You sort of don't look into that as much as the last matchup because attack's usually clunky. It's usually defence. You got the whole season to get your attack right. And then it was 22-24 Melbourne, I think, the last game. And that's probably more. That's probably more what I think we're going to see this game. That total smack on 40, whether or not it goes below or above that, I feel like they've got it probably at a good line there. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a tight game, or I think maybe Melbourne can run away with it.
Well, speaking of the regular season, I've actually got a couple of clips that Tristan sent into me. And one of them, I asked Tristan about what odds these two teams actually got out to in terms of futures and the biggest bets that Toppy took throughout the year. So I thought we could start the show listening to that one.
G'day everyone, it's Tristan Merlihan here from Top Sport, and we've got the NRL Grand Final only a couple of days away. It's an exciting time of the year, and what a cracking game that we're set up for with the two best sides all season heading into the Grand Final with a bit of momentum. Just having a look at the teams that are competing. Penrith have been in the market virtually all season. They've been either the favourite or the second favourite for pretty much the whole season, and realistically the highest price they got to was at $4, which was at the start of the season. We've just laid incremental bets, most of the year, nothing too sizable, and they're actually a pretty good result for us until 2 weeks out from the end of the season, where one of our customers had the biggest bet on the premiership with us, $50,000 on the Panthers at $3.60. From there, they shortened up significantly and obviously have been a lot firmer ever since. And then on the Storm, on the other side, going into the season, they were $12, and that was their highest point. That was the biggest bet, the highest price we laid them at, $1,500 at $12, 2011, and just sort of steady bet, similar sort of numbers on the way through. So they've been a bad result for us all season. So as a result, we go into this game in a lose-lose situation, but it's just one of those games. The market itself is $1.85 the Storm, $1.97 Penrith, 1.5 is the line, and 40.5 is the total points. So we've seen that shift up from 39.5, where there has been support for the overs. It's obviously crossed that key number of 40, so it'll be interesting where the number settles. But it is a reasonably high number for a grand final as well. So no real massive bets leading into the game just yet, but the Clive Church is where a lot of the action is, and we've seen some money for Harry Grant. He's been back from $12 into $9, a very steady flow of money on Harry. We've taken more bets on him than any other runner combined, the biggest bet being 500 on him at $11. So no massive individual bets, but just a steady flow of action. The biggest roughie we've laid is actually Josh King at $67. So looking forward to see where that one plays out.
So there you go. We talked about the total there. So Toppy crept into 39.5, took a bet or two on the over, back to 40.5. But how about the Clive Churchill? So you have 34 players involved, and Harry Grant is holding more money than the other 33 combined. That video recorded by Tristan half an hour ago. Well, if people recall 48 hours ago on the pod with Clarkey, Harry Grant was my tip, and I have picked the last 3 in a row. And he was 11s at multiple bookies when I tipped on Tuesday. I've seen him crunched into 8s, 9s. I think you may still find a 10 if you look around. Whether I had much to do with that move, I'm not sure, but big coincidence if nothing else. I'm going to get your Clive Churchill tip as well, Benny, of course, and your tip for the game. But how about you give me some more aspects of how you're seeing it playing out? I want to know, for each team, so start with Melbourne if you like, where's their biggest advantage?
Well, it's definitely their attack. Against Penrith, it'll be interesting to see how the tempo of the game's going. It's going to be sort of Melbourne's tempo where it's, high scoring, or if Penrith can turn it into a grind. I feel like, if it turns into a grind, Penrith are probably more of a chance, whereas if Melbourne can move them across a little bit, I think, they'll get the chocolates.
So then biggest advantage for Penrith, the obvious one is the forward pack and the power. Is there anything else stands out to you?
Well, I think, I would have said Melbourne when they did have Nelson. I just feel like it would have been an easy or even matchup in the forwards. But now I feel like with Nelson out, I'd probably lean Penrith's forwards. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, I just feel like Melbourne have too much strike in their halves at the moment that doesn't matter where they are. They don't even need their forwards. They just need one quick play the ball and they can score, basically. So,
well, that's it. That's what Melbourne's done all year, I guess. And I think that they're always a threat, but you probably just don't see Penrith being as vulnerable as other sides out there because we know how good Penrith are defensively. Right. But is there a chink in the armor of either of these? I know this is a tough question, but if I had to, if you had to probe, where is the weakness in each of these teams?
I think now it would be the forwards for Melbourne. And I'd be, if you're Penrith, you'd be wanting to see if you can just stick it through the middle third, wear them out, and probably wear out Grant. It might be a hard thing to do because I feel like if he's jumping out of 9, and he's got the energy to do it, that's where they're going to get the front foot from there. With Penrith, it's probably, I think it's probably Cleary going down. If Cleary, even if he's playing, with one shoulder, I think if it's worse than that, if he actually has to come off, I think that's where what we saw the last game. He did come off, and he's the Iceman for a reason, and he wasn't there. And I think that's probably half the reason why, or they probably would have won that game with him on the field, I think. So
I think, was Penrith already down 2 at the time he got injured?
I think they were.
Yeah. So, the way I see that, you have to give Melbourne pretty much all the credit for getting a win in Penrith. It'd be a different story if Cleary was injured first half or something. You could put a massive asterisk on it. But look, fair point. He went off with about 8 minutes to go. Could it have been a different story? We've seen how long you reckon it was?
It was
a little
about
longer
14,
than that.
Yeah.
So could Cleary have turned it? We've seen that story before for sure.
He's done plenty of times.
That's a good point. And mate, I'll just remind everyone my best bet because I want to get your thoughts on it. I think I can actually put it up on the screen. So I went a same game multi for this one, and I find it hard to split the sides. So I can remind people I am taking Melbourne by a small margin. So I'm going to give Penrith a slightly greater start. Penrith gets plus 12.5, can't lose 13 plus. Storm gets plus 10.5, so can't get beat 11 plus. And it's tied into an under 63.5, just to boost those odds up a little bit more, because I can't see it being a total shootout. Understanding the ability of both sides in attack, but equally they're the two best defenses for mine. And if you count finals games, they are the best two defenses statistically in terms of points per game. And boil that all down to $1.80. Can you kind of pick that multi apart?
No, because I think, like I said to you, I probably would have done something similar. I played around with the same game multi for a while. I was thinking basically what you've done. I think I was playing around with. I think yours was better though, because I was doing neither team to 30. But
I've heard a few people saying that.
Yeah, so I actually saw yours and I was like, that was the way to do it. Then I had another play around afterwards. I was playing around. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was Penrith sort of unders, like a big unders, and then Melbourne a small overs, as well as sort of alternative lower total as well. Because I feel like really like Penrith can defend, but I feel like Melbourne is probably going to trump that with their attack at the moment. Not that they're going to put a massive score on them, but I think it's a safe bet Melbourne will score points, and it's also a safe bet that Penrith won't score a lot, because that's just not the sort of team they are. They're that grind sort of team. So.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of points being scored in this, so I think neither to 30 is a good bet as well. But I've seen a few people saying, oh, you go neither to 30 and then either 1 to 12, and you can get double up odds. But yeah, under 63.5 is significantly better, because if neither gets to 30, you can't possibly have more than 57 points in the game or whatever. But the thing is, one team could blow out late or whatever and score 30 plus, and the total could still fall under 64 points there. Now I've got a cameo tip from Luke Burrow, who may or may not be watching live right now, so people may know him from tuning in quite often, contributing in the comments. But Luke also has shared a lot of tips in the TryPod Facebook group all season, and I invited Luke to record a clip. He preferred I just share the write-up. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll try and paraphrase. That you're getting a bonus tip for the state championship, which is the first of the 3 grand finals on grand final day. Luke's tip, which was shared in the group, Jets minus 11.5 at $1.88. That has already moved in a couple of bookies. It is still available. Newtown Jets minus 11.5 at $1.82 on Sportsbet. So that's the best price available right now if you're watching the show, hearing it for the first time. And his main reasons, the last 2 years, the New South Wales Cup champions have won big over the Queensland Cup, which may give an indication of the comparison in terms of the form lines. He speaks about the Jets have the better forward pack and the more explosive outside backs. The Devils are more experienced in terms of an older side, particularly the spine, but the Jets, despite being younger, are actually more experienced in terms of the number of players and number of games in the NRL. And as much as I would love to see a great game, and in fact, the North Devils are a feeder to my beloved Dolphins, I have to say I agree with Luke's tip there. And I've actually tied that in to my grand final bonanza market, which is probably up on Toppy already, and I'm going to share that soon. And while we're at it, talking about Toppy and special markets, a reminder, Clarkey has gone Panthers 1 to 12 and Luai to score after the 20th minute, and that was $21 as Clarkey's collect for the grand final. Now, since we're talking about some special markets on Toppy, let's in fact hear part 2 from Tristan. I got Tristan talking a bit more about some of the other markets you can bet in the GF.
And the try scorers, that's obviously where you get a lot of the action in the grand final, where the popular commodities have been the ones we've laid in all your same game multis: Will Warbrick, Xavier Coates, Brian To'o. A few of the rougher runners are Katoa and Luai, who we've laid in singles. So they're the ones we're trying to dodge at this stage. Jacob asked me what my 2 worst results were that we've had in grand final history. Probably the one that comes to mind is 2020, where the Panthers played the Storm, so a repeat of this game where the Storm actually won 26-20. But what the problematic area was that all the popular players scored, and that made the same game multi nightmare. Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton, Josh Mansour, Nathan Cleary, Olam Vunivalu, Smith and Pappy. So you couldn't get a worse group of players from our perspective. So that was a really ugly result. Probably the other one, it wasn't as bad a result on paper, but it was the opportunity cost. We had a really big position about Canberra in the 2019 grand final. They were a massive result for us throughout the course of the year. They got so close. They were very unlucky with the kick into the referee as well. They went down to the Roosters 14-8. So that was probably our biggest swing. That would have been our biggest ever footy result, and they got so close, wasn't quite to be. So my prediction for the grand final, you probably want to be on the other side because I'm not the greatest judge, but what I'm suggesting is Penrith in a tight game, 18-12, maybe a little bit of bias there. I think Nathan Cleary, if they get the result, all the narrative and the storyline around him is going to be very hard to topple for that club, Churchill. But if you want a roughie, I don't mind James Fisher-Harris, last game ever for the Panthers. If it's going to be a tight game like that, the forwards maybe make plenty of metres, and I think he's a bit of value at a decent price. So good luck if you're having a bet over the weekend. Obviously, gamble responsibly, enjoy the game, and hopefully you enjoyed the season. Thanks, guys.
There you go. We got Tristan's tip. We got story time from Tristan. I think he's probably got some trauma from that Raiders game. He said the kick into the ref. I do remember at one stage the ball hit the trainer, which was very lucky for the Roosters. And, of course, it was the infamous 6 again that was costly for the Raiders. And the Roosters got up there, as we know. So my custom market, since we're just on the topic of Toppy, and that's available now. It's just under mixed matchup. You can call it my mixed matchup for the day if you like. I called it my TryPod grand final day bonanza. And it ties into 3 games. So it is the Jets, the Newtown Jets to win. And we've touched on that. The NRLW, I've gone the Roosters to win, and I do think that they're too good for Cronulla, although the Sharks were heroic defensively against Brisbane in the prelim. So I've got Jets and Roosters to win. The Jets have to win by more than the Roosters, okay? But the Roosters have to win by more than the final margin in Panthers Storm. So basically, each grand final is going to be closer than the last. So I've got the closest game of the day being Panthers Storm, either can win. And then a little bit bigger margin is the NRLW. And then a bigger margin again is the state championship. And the lines for those games indicate that's how it would play out. But in addition to a bigger margin in the earlier, followed by a little narrower and narrower again, we need the winners as well, the 2 favourites in the early games. The Jets are $1.20, Roosters are $1.30. So that all pays $6. You can have up to 50 on that on Toppy. I would actually get on that tonight to ensure you can lock in that price. You can see that we do send a fair bit of traffic towards some of the things that we like. So Toppy will protect that price for as long as they can. Let's move on. Benny, I've got more questions for you. I guess you want to talk a little more about the total. You mentioned 24-22 last time these teams met. The total's 40.5. You've done so well this year betting a lot of team totals. So was there any that you had your eye on?
Yeah, so the leans I had would probably be Melbourne overs. I think they're probably sitting, if you fish around, you probably get a 20.5.
So there's no 19.5s out there?
I don't think there is, no, because it would be such a good number to get that 19.5, I feel. And I did look on Tuesday. I haven't had a good look today.
You can get them on Penrith, but not Melbourne.
You could get them on Penrith, yeah, which is not what I'd be wanting to do. I'd probably actually be wanting to get 20.5 unders for Penrith. That would be a lean as well, but I don't think you're going to get it. You may be getting it with a bit of juice if you do. I just feel like,
3.5 tries? Did you look at that?
Say again, mate.
3.5 tries?
3.5 tries. Oh, true. Yeah, well, you
probably
could go
similar
unders. Yeah, I wonder what that's priced at. I think it would be
over. I mean, over for Melbourne.
Oh, over. Yeah, I wonder.
But I suppose they could end up with 20 points with 3 converted tries and a penalty.
Which it could happen.
Go the other way.
Yeah, Penrith do like to take 2, and there could be a field goal that knocks over Melbourne, and then you're not on it. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's a flip of the coin. You know what it's like with those markets sometimes, unless you get a really good edge with a goal kicker. I feel like if I had to put my thoughts into 2 bets, it would be, if you like the Panthers, I'd go 1-12 unders, full game total. And if you like Melbourne, I'd be going Melbourne and overs. So I feel like whoever wins, it's like correlation, I think, and you'll get a lot better on that 1-12. But I feel like if Melbourne do win, they can win by 1-12, or they could potentially put 13 plus. So it's easy just going head-to-head there.
And Simo comments there, and that's the beauty of shopping around, that you might get. He says Storm over 19.5, $1.80 on Sportsbet. So I feel like if it was 20.5, it would be juiced to the under. If it's 19.5, it would be juiced over. So shop around. So I asked you how you feel about the total, and you kind of said you would play Storm overs or you would play Panthers unders. So it's pretty clear to me which side you like in the game. But what overall, if you had to play 40.5 overall under, do you have an overall trend?
Honestly, put a gun to my head, I'm going to say overs, and I hate it because I hate overs, but I like
it's because you think Melbourne's going to win.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, so I don't want to say it, but Tristan actually touched on it pretty well. This is a high total for a grand final, and if you put your tinfoil hat on, the bookies know really well what's going to happen. If they're saying a high total, I think a lot of people look at that and go, the unders looks good here, and they might find out come grand final day it's not, because it's going to be a really fast track. I feel like I think it's probably like 30% humidity, so there's going to be it's not going to be greasy. It's going to be fast, and yeah, it's going to be good footy conditions, basically.
Yeah, my instinct, I never will play an over. I don't think in a big game, like rarely in an Origin, especially if that both teams are alive, or in a big finals game, especially a grand final. But I completely appreciate the prowess of both these sides in attack. It's just that they are also the best two sides adept at kind of stopping the other. But you could have said very similar things last year. Brisbane and Penrith were the best two defences in the comp, and the final score was 28-26. No, 26-24, so.
Yeah, so that was overs.
And it was only 8-0 at half time. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was 8-6, but there was a late try by Brisbane. It was 8-0 after like 37 minutes. So,
and that's a high-scoring grand final as well, isn't it? I feel like Melbourne's attack's probably on par to how good the Broncos' attack was last year, if not better. Like that spine, is mental at the moment.
That's it. So people can recall that one. That's another reason why people might like the overs. You kind of touched on their weather, but is there any other aspects or factors that you're considering or that you wanted to kind of bring up about this matchup that would you'd take into account for any bets you might make?
Well, yeah, you've already covered it actually, because it's funny. I feel like we're on the same train of thought. As soon as I looked at the markets, I was like, Harry Grant looks like a good price, because again, the tinfoil hat would be on, and I feel like everyone's going to be on Munster, everyone's going to be on Cleary, and if Harry Grant has a solid game, you can't really deny him, because he's in the middle, heaps of tackles, he'll probably have a try assist, he might even have a try with how he's playing. If he gets that, he could, it's a flip of the coin between him and Hughes. I think he could get it. I think that's probably something to look at, is probably Harry Grant. But you probably moved the market, like you said, into I think it was $12. It's into 9 or 10.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a decent bet at 10. And of course, Hughes will be popular too. Took out the Dally M last night. It's a funny one. I was certain, and I've mentioned it a few times in recent pods, I was certain Hughes was the best player this year. And I actually give a lot of credit to Clarkey. He said he kept his own tally after the votes went behind closed doors in round 10. And he kept saying Teddy was a smoky, Teddy could win it. And he had his votes. I think Clarkey had Teddy within a vote of Jerome Hughes. And I thought, you've overestimated that. But it actually did come down to the final game and Hughes needing to get all 6 votes and be man of the match in a game that the Storm didn't need to win because Hughes had rested the previous game and because Teddy polled a couple of votes in a loss. Hughes needed every last vote. He wins the award by 1. Well-deserved. It reminds me of Sean Johnson missing out by 1 vote last year and opting to rest in round 27, but at least a Kiwi, rightfully won the award last night. And there is a logic there that he's been the best player all year. And for Melbourne to win, Hughes will have to be on song again. And that's why he is around the $5 mark. And I'm not ruling him out or any of the others. I feel like Pappenhausen's already won one. Sometimes I wonder if it's close between players, if that's in the back of the voters' mind. That it's
What's
hard.
What's your thoughts on Hughes winning it and then backing up a performance after winning it? I wanted to ask your thoughts on that. What do you see when a player does win something like that? Do you think it's bad for them because they've already won something and going into something makes them less hungry almost?
There is a lot of nervous energy that would have been built up and burnt, I suppose, last night. But look, it was Wednesday night. It moves to Sunday. And I was thinking a little bit about is there an impact on Tues? There's the stats that are going to tell you that when the Dally M winner has played in the grand final, they've lost more often than they've won. And I try and think of a few examples, but I don't think that would be the case with Jerome Hughes, just because of his temperament, and he is so kind of humble and team first, and it's an amazing achievement that can give him confidence. But no, I don't think it takes away from Jerome's performance. I've got an interesting note that I made as well, looking through all the markets right on Top Sport, and you can bet on statistical markets, and Penrith are $1.45 to have more meters in this game, which I just think is pretty extreme for an underdog, right? But Penrith did have more meters than anybody else this year. And Melbourne, were only 5th in meters despite winning the most regular season games. So it just goes to show that not all meters are created equally. They don't translate to points equally, but that's one that's been, I don't know if you would look at potentially taking Melbourne at 260 in that market if you think Melbourne's going to win. Melbourne may not have the same forward pack muscle, but Melbourne can make the meters with the outside backs, and if they do get more line breaks. So I'm not sure what story that market is telling us, if Panthers are going to make more meters per set on average and finish their sets in better territory, but maybe the Storm are perceived to be more clinical and more efficient with less frequent opportunities.
I wonder what that stat is for Melbourne versus Penrith when they're in that attacking 20. What's their conversion rate, sort of thing, against each other? That's where probably the story will correlate with that stat.
Exactly, and that's telling you that Melbourne maybe can be more decisive, and I think chances will be few and far between for both. But both sides have class that can take an opportunity as well. Let's move into try scorers, and before I get kind of any angles you've got, I want to hear from Nakul, who is off picking Munster last try at 34-1 in Storm.
Where's that?
Roosters.
Might get on that.
So Nakul picks Munster last try. That was in the prelim, right? And Munster had the final 2.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was this game. Okay.
Sorry, mate. But I haven't listened to who he's got for the grand final.
Hey everyone, it's Nakul from Wiki. Hope you guys pumped up for the NRL grand final. Look, it's been 5 long seasons of me tipping on TryPod and obviously doing all the content for Wiki. So as always, Google Wiki Linktree, our Discord, our tips and everything else will be there for free for the grand final. I'm going with 2 big boppers, Moses Leota and Tui Kamika. This will be my last season doing tips and content to, I guess, as much time into it as I have been doing for the last few years. So I want to go out with a bang. Kamika, we've got first and last try 67s on Dabble. Leota 67s first and last try on Bet365. Kamika is also $201 for the Clive Churchill medal on Neds, and Leota's 81s on Bet365. So they're my official tips for the game. Putting it up there. As always, Google Wiki Linktree, you can always find this stuff, including our community, which has over 5,000 people. In terms of the game, I reckon it's going to be a super close one. I reckon, look, obviously the Panthers, they're going to be desperate. The final ride, the last ride, whatever you want to call it, the last dance. But I reckon the Storm, obviously it's been 4 years since their last NRL grand final. I reckon they're going to be desperate. They'll end up winning by about 2 points. It's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. Always punt responsibly. Enjoy the game. Catch you guys soon.
Massive shout out to Nakul. Sad to hear that might not continue on with just all these frequent free tips, but Nakul's killed it this year in the tips he shared on the TryPod. It's added great value to the show. I know people might not think that Nakul's winning every week, but you've got to remember he's given us Willison last try that saluted at 100-1 in the regular season. Munster at 34-1 last week. How many times Nakul gave us Jerome Hughes anytime try score at $4, or Ola Kawatu around the same. So that's been outstanding. And he likes, as always, Nakul likes himself some middle forwards. So Kamika, Leota. If it is that total arm wrestle game, this is what I spoke about with Clarkie. What if it is like round 1, where somebody's winning 8-6 type game? there won't be that many highlight plays. There won't be the stats for the spine members or the outside backs. Could it go to a middle forward? A few middle forwards have won in the last 20 years. And Tristan mentioned that Josh King was backed at maybe 67s as a long shot, and Tristan didn't mind Fisher Harris. So those are kind of a couple of your best middles on either side. But what if it's someone outside the box, like Leota, like Kamikamitha, at super long odds, as Nakul suggested? I wouldn't knock, you really don't need a lot of reasons to back something that long, because we're talking a 1% or 0.5% likelihood. And in this style of game, it could be. I think it's possible. How about we move to you, Benny, try scorers? Did you have your eye on anyone?
Yeah, it would actually be Munster. I feel like that tip from Nakul, that would have been awesome. Like you said, it's hard to back something last try scorer and then get it. And yeah, the fact he hit it last round is crazy. Yeah, I feel like Hughes is pretty priced in, whereas Cameron Munster, I feel like the odds are pretty decent if you want to have a crack at him. I just got a Bet365 boost. Him for Clive Churchill, I think it was $9.50. That's pretty good. I think price for Munster. Try scorers wise, it's one of those things, like you said, it could be like neither team to hit 10, or it could be, it could be like that, or it could be a 24-22, similar sort of scoreline we saw last time they met. But yeah, I'd like Munster, I feel like, if I had to pick someone.
I think Munster, who has been there since 2016, won it in 2017, been around for a while. He's as motivated as anybody to win a comp with Melbourne after the big three, right? This will be the first one they'd win without Cam Smith. But I do feel like Munster understands a bit of the historical context, because he was teammates with all those guys, the Billy Slaters and Cooper Cronks. And what I'm getting at is, if Munster knows that Melbourne's ahead late and that he's had a good game, you better believe he's going to go after that Clive Churchill, and he's going to get himself in more involved. And that is kind of the ace up the sleeve that I think is true for all the halves in this game. So Cleary, Luai, Hughes, and Munster, like, the way that they can impact the game more than a typical game is they can have more carries. Like, they can be even more dangerous by touching the ball more often and carrying the ball. That's something that you don't do with great frequency or volume every single regular season game, because you're not going to last, right? But in the biggest games, these guys will put their hands up even more, and that's always dangerous, because all of the halves, often some teams will have an organising half and a running half, but really all of the halves in this game are threats to run, to break tackles, as well as passing and kicking. So I think that's more so true for these kind of guys, more so than maybe a Harry Grant or a forward, in terms of, if they feel like they're a chance of the medal, they can, really go after it. I want to give a bonus tip. I did say my favourite try scorer would be Xavier Coates in the Tuesday preview, because he could go up and catch a bomb over Toto, or just scoring down that left side for the Storm. We know what a finisher he is. So I just thought one market that's very popular that you might want to get on, guys, would be first try scorer. And Xavier Coates is paying $11 on Toppy, which is also the top price in the market. So that would be my favourite pick for first try scorer. We've still got more, guys. Still more coming. I've got another double-digit odds bonus pick. I'm going to press Benny for his exact margin winner and official Clive Churchill play. And the Ponis has weighed in with the best bet. Let's listen to that one now.
Happy Thursday to the TryPod family. Ponis here, coming at you from a remote location, a winning location, after we've hit the Quinella bet at $3 with Penrith and Melbourne in the grand finals futures we gave out a month ago. So hopefully you've all got your wallets full, ready to go for the grand final. Jacob's asked me to come on and see if I had a best bet to share for his extravaganza, and I'll do. It's not always the case in these one-off standalone fixtures when the markets are so tight, but I do have a lean in this one. And ironically, we've seen every single favourite so far in this final series win and cover the spread. But alas, I'm going with the underdog. I'm leaning towards the Panthers, and I think it should be a flipped fave. So my personal bet in this game is plus 0.5 in the first half. That's $1.88 on Ladbrokes and Neds. Put simply, I think the roles are reversed from when they first met in the grand final in 2020. I think Penrith are coming into this game, the experienced, the more dominant defensive team, the team that knows how they want to play. They get into a grind. They're going to outcompete you. Whereas I think Melbourne are coming into this time similar to what Penrith were 4 years ago. When they're the attacking side, they've got the flair, they've got the points in them. And I think early on in this fixture, they could start a little bit slow out of the blocks. Nerves could get to some of their forward pack who don't have that same big game experience. Yes, I respect that their spine is very elite, but the man on the other side of the field, Nathan Cleary, similar to the 1990s in that Bulls era, to win a competition right now in the NRL, you have to go through Nathan. And I think the Prince of Penrith's going to show that he's the best player on the planet. I think Penrith win this one. It's going to be tight, gritty, low scoring, so happy to take the first half spread as the official best bet. Good luck. Gamble responsibly. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you, Ponis. Yes, awesome work again by Mateos picking the Quinella and getting the nice juicy price there. And although I do pick Melbourne narrowly, it's one of those things where it's close to a pick'em game. Getting the underdog, people will know that if I ever lean to the underdog and I can get like a plus a half a point in the first half, where you don't even need to win the half to win the bet. And if there's ever a game likely to be level scores at halftime, of course it's a grand final between two very evenly matched teams that would be as low scoring as any, predicted rugby league game this year. So that half point can be so valuable when it may only be 6-6 at halftime or whatever the case may be. So I wouldn't knock Mateos's tip at all there, and respect that angle. And it just goes back to the fact that we have such an awesome match coming up on Sunday, because you can make a really strong argument for either of these teams. And you've sided with Melbourne as well, Benny. Can you give me your final score? And if you have to pick one of them, the Spine members or members of the Storm outfit for the Clive Churchill, who you'd be backing?
Yeah, I think Ponis just touched on something I was meant to touch on as well. Probably the only weakness with the Storm side is that grand final experience. I feel like Penrith do have it, and it's a good point with that. Plus, I think if you're going to play Penrith, that's probably the way to play it. Yeah, I'm going to go margin. I'm going to go. I might throw a curly one here. Maybe 18 to 28 Storm, and Clive Churchill Munster.
Nice one, mate. People don't recall, I went 18-14 Melbourne, and Harry Grant again. Still get him at 10 if you like him. He was 11s when I shared it. And look, I'll give you guys another bonus tip for joining us Thursday night. Even though I just said I'm predicting 18-14, hey, maybe it's 18-14 after extra time. And look, maybe it's 28-18 like Benny just predicted after extra time, because it doesn't immediately go to golden point. They play 10 more minutes, right? So could this game go to golden? Could this game go to...
Sorry, dangerous for the under, rather. I forget about that every
dangerous for the under, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
But in reality, 10 extra minutes, if it's been a low-scoring game and it's extra time, and the refs swallow their whistle, there's not going to be a lot of points. But gee, that would be a rough way to go down.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tip extra time as well, because I reckon its value at $19 on 365. So you find that in margin tight, 19-1, right?
Extra time in overs.
Well, it'd be a fun way to win.
Why not?
Yeah. If it was 20 all, then you're going to win your overs, because the game has to end. And after 10 minutes of extra time, they do play, I think, indefinite golden point until there's a result.
Yeah.
So look, I just think that actually is just a juicy, fun way to play this as well, because not many people are going to argue that this should be close. And whoever is behind has absolute belief they can come back. And we've seen it so many times. You go back to last year's grand final, but a few weeks ago, Penrith scored 3 tries in 5 minutes to break Para's hearts, right? We've seen the Storm get absolutely out of jail in multiple games, more so earlier in the year. The New Zealand match comes to mind. But these sides don't give up when they're down, right? They're very much, until they're dead and buried, they're going to keep themselves in the fight. So I think that's like a nice, juicy long shot. Have you got any other Someone says tips of first try scorer. So I did go Xavier Coates at $11. Anything else you had to share tonight, Benny?
Nah, I think we've touched on it all. Yeah, I just feel like, it's going to be an awesome game because you've got two different styles. I think John's touched on it. Yeah, you got the Penrith Panthers. They're just, the Iceman Cleary. And then you've also got, they're talking about a big four again with the Storm. I think it's just going to be a cracker game, and hopefully the ref doesn't ruin it.
Well, hopefully we're not talking about the ref. I will be live within 15 minutes of full time on Sunday. Appreciate all your contribution this whole season, mate. It's been unreal to, witness you on this heater for the entire year. And you've given us a couple of tips through the finals. And even though you went 1-1, I feel like the winner was as easy as you like, and the loser was the most ridiculous bad beat you'll ever find. I think they were both great tips as well. And you have a fundraiser as well that I wanted you to have the opportunity to share with people who, who also have appreciated everything you've done this year, and maybe people that you've made some extra money for as well. Yeah,
I'm doing 1 foot forward for the Black Dog Institute. It says walk, but I'm not. Anyone that knows me really well, I've barely run, I reckon, over 2 or 3 Ks the last this decade. So running 100 Ks, my legs are pretty sore after doing 7 over 3 days. So we'll see how we go. I have to do a marathon probably on the last day to get done. But if anyone can any sort of bit of money towards it would be great. It's all for our mental health. So it's for a good cause.
You'll post that in the group, won't you, as well?
Yeah. I'll chuck it on your TryPod post. Or
I've commented it as well, although that should come up on Facebook, but it's a live chat thing. So I'll find a way to try and put it in the YouTube video. But if people can jump into the group, and 100K, that's ridiculous, mate. But that's a great cause as well. That's one that we've supported in the past as well. And good on you, mate. Absolute legend. Not just with his footy tips, but legend of a bloke as well. So thanks again for making the time to join us, Benny. In addition to the live recap, I'll let you guys know we'll probably do some type of season review. I think Tristan might jump on and give us kind of the wash up for how the bookies did overall this year. We can talk kind of highs and lows. There's been plenty of both, but hopefully we can go out on a higher. I'll see if I can keep my streak of Clive Churchill medal winners alive going back to 2021. So that'd be good fun. That'd be something to celebrate on Sunday night. I'd be shocked if we don't get a great game, but I don't want to jinx it any further.
Can I just say one last multi, you reckon, Winny? Maybe we go Churchill. One last multi. Go Clive Churchill, Harry Grant, anytime try scorer, Munster, extra time, yes, and overs. I wonder what that's paying.
Let's try and plug that in. I'll have to see. Have you seen any bookies that'll let you multi the Clive Churchill into a same gamer?
The 365 is, and I know sports will do. They love doing that. So I might just chuck that on the comments as well, because I reckon that's a good shout.
Yeah, have a go at that, mate. And there's obviously infinite markets, especially once you get into same game multis and the way you can concoct those. I do always get in the lab every week and play around for a while, see what I can come up with for same gamers. And I haven't cooked Winnie's Kitchen yet, so thanks for reminding me. That's going to be out this weekend too. And I'll look into that too, about if you can combine Clive Churchill. But comment that if you do find something juicy as well, or you can put that in with your fundraiser post in the pod perhaps. That'd be the dream. Best of luck to everybody.
Do you want to tell you how much it pays?
Yeah, go on.
$651. Worth $2 on it, sure.
Could be a little flyer if people agree with all those different angles. But I'd love to hear what other people are seeing, or just in general what people reckon is the best bet of the night for Sunday, or any bets throughout the day. We'll be watching all the games unfold, and can't wait for it. So have a great week, great Friday, and great weekend. Until then, guys, thanks as always for tuning in. Thank you to you, Benny, and Lego.